Hey guys, Kevin here. In this video, we're going to be looking quickly at controllers and views within TypeRocket and connecting those to routes, and then displaying that view on the front end of the website. And we're going to go about this by using what's called a TypeRocket quick route definition. So instead of using these anonymous functions here inside of our routes, we're going to use quick route definitions. So we'll go ahead and do this, and we're going to call the URL or path for this hello. So that's going to match our URL for us. It's going to respond to a GET request, and then we're going to pass in a quick route definition. So the way this works is through connecting to controllers. So before we can fill out our specific quick route definition, which is just a string, we need to create a controller. And the best way to do that is to use the TypeRocket Galaxy command line tool. So we'll do that here. Just run PHP Galaxy make controller. We'll create a thin controller so there's not as much to clean up. There was going to be some extra in here that we need to delete. And essentially this is just going to create a file for us. We could create it ourselves manually, but this just speeds up the process. So we'll do that. Go to App, Controllers, and this is where our controllers live for our main application. And also you have a custom controller here. Open up this file, and then because we're not using models, I'm going to delete the model information and save that. And now we have a controller. So once we have a controller, then we just need some methods to call on that. So function, create this one, call it hello. We'll return, just like the anonymous function, we're going to return a value. I'm going to call it hi. And then we need to be able to call this method from the controller in the route. So we'll go to the route, and this is where we can do that. So we'll just say hello. We want to call the hello method on the custom controller, and there we go. That'll do it. We'll save that. Go back here, and go to hello, and there you go. Hi. And that's it. That's all you have to do to get a controller connected to a route. However, you may say, I have a custom plugin and I don't really want my controllers to live in this controllers folder inside of the TypeRocket main application. Maybe your controllers are specific to just certain scenarios and you don't want it in your core TypeRocket application. And so you can do that by adding in a specific class that you want to call for your controller. So here we would say, we create a class quickly called hello. All it needs to do is extend the controller class of TypeRocket. So TypeRocket /controller/controller. And then once we have this, we can call our specific method. Now, if I call it hello, this is like an old constructor style for PHP. So we can't call our class the same thing as we call our methods. So that's the reason that we typically prefix our controllers with controllers, so we don't run into this issue if we want to name our route the same as our specific class. Okay, so I'm going to do this and then just define that specific controller class name. If it was namespaced, it might be my plugin /hello controller. We're not using a namespace though. We're just doing this. And then we just need to return a value. Return hi from custom class. Save that. Go back here, refresh, hi from custom class. Pretty easy. So you're probably wondering, if I define a controller here, this feels a little bit extra. Like I don't need this, what we call the resource definition. That's not really helpful to you. And actually, the correct answer to that is it is helpful. This specific resource actually connects to the kernel middleware groups. And so whatever this resource is defined as is also going to pull that resource middleware group. So what do I mean by that? If I jump over to the kernel, and that is located underneath your main application, app HTTP kernel. And then inside of here, I have middleware groups. And essentially, this is code that runs whenever a request is made, and it can do different things. You can program middleware to do all sorts of things. You can do caching, permission checks, if you're not doing like a policy type methodology. And so if I look in here at the post group here, owns post or can edit posts, I'll see that our middleware class that's inside of this post group here essentially does a check. It sees if the request is not a hook, if it's a HTTP request essentially that's not using WordPress hooks, then we're going to make sure that there's a post variable, and we're going to make sure that the author and the current user ID matches. And if that fails, we're going to get a 401, and it's going to say, sorry, you don't have enough rights. Okay. So we can actually initialize that specific group on this controller by passing in post. So I'll save that. And then if I go back here and refresh, we'll see that we don't have enough rights. So this is an easy way to connect your controller to a specific middleware group within your kernel. And that's really all there is to it. If we go back here and type in custom, refresh this, the same middleware group policy still exists. However, now the middleware group would be called custom. So if I go over here to the kernel, and let's just copy the post version here, paste that in, I'm going to call it custom. We're going to essentially get the same error. Okay, go here, refresh the page. We don't have enough rights. Okay, so let's go back to our routes file, and I want to explain this custom resource piece a little bit more to make sure it really lands. So when we're dealing with this custom resource, this is a very short syntax. There's not a lot we can glean from this bit of information. So TypeRocket's really working hard to kind of load in our controller and know where that controller lives in the code, what folder it lives under. And so when we call it custom, TypeRocket automatically looks for the controller of a specific path. So it's going to look under your main namespace, which is app. Then it's going to look under controllers. Then it's going to look for custom controller. Okay. So when we have just custom here, it's essentially the same as having added this. And if I was to call it post, then TypeRocket would automatically assign this kind of class to the system for us. So it essentially, these quick tags and quick route definitions with controllers essentially keep us from having to type out as much text. Okay, so then to wrap up, all we have to do is show you how to use views. So I'm going to go back to custom here. And we'll do views in more depth, but I just want to demonstrate how this works. So then under our custom controller, we just do tr view. Whoops. View. And then we use what's called dot syntax to load up our view. So maybe I want this to be under, let's see, we'll call it hello. And then maybe we want this to be hello and then hi. Okay, just keep it kind of interesting, the same term. Okay, essentially to get this view onto the screen on the front end, I have to create a folder within TypeRocket, and I'm going to call that views. And then inside of here, I'm going to create a folder called hello. And inside of that, I'm going to create a PHP file called hi. And then inside of that PHP file, I'm going to put onto the screen hi from view. Okay. And now I have a view returning from my custom controller. And the way this works is it does directory and then until it hits a file, which is the last. So we're just going to look at this and it'll make sense as we go. So it's going to look in this views folder and then look for hello and then hi. So hello, hi. Let's go back here, refresh the page, and I do still have my middleware group. So let's get rid of that for custom so we can actually see something. Reload this. We have a few issues here. It's supposed to be located under resources. So I put my views under the wrong folder here. You could drop it under resources. Go back and reload the page. There we go. Hi from view. Then inside of my view, maybe I want to do some PHP things. So for example, PHP get header. That would essentially load the header for WordPress. And then I could do get footer. Okay. Reload the page, and now I have my WordPress header and my WordPress footer. And then maybe I want to put this inside of an H1 tag. Save that, refresh. And now I have essentially a very kind of standard web page. It's not necessarily styled according to this particular theme's HTML styling and style guide, but we do have a view running and it's using some WordPress templating. And then the last thing I really want to show you, we'll close all this out and clean it up, is that we can move this hi file. We don't have to put our views inside of folders. It's just that syntax is a way to help organize it. You could say essentially hello.hi.my-file, and it will basically jump through each directory all the way down until we reach the right spot. So to prove that, I'm just going to move this hi file underneath views and delete the hello folder. Delete that. And then I'm going to just call hi. Reload the page, and we get the same view. And that's essentially the basics of controllers and getting a view onto the page. The next few videos will look more in depth at how this is useful and how we can use it to write an application in TypeRocket using NVC.